So you send me the things you want to cover on this. I kind of just wander, and whatever happened in the baseball world that I happen to remember during this hour block gets discussed. But you have the Jorge Lopez thing. If you've been following it at all, like what rock do you think I live under that I
Hey,
haven't seen the Jorge Lopez
all right.
situation?
Well, I didn't word what I said that well. Like I know you know it happened. You're not dead. Like I know you know it happened. Like I know that. But like there's been updates damn near every hour since. I don't know how much you followed since. It's kind of what I was getting at. Not if you knew it fucking happened. I know you know it happened.
So I know he rifled his glove into the stands, was ejected. Then after the game, was it Gelb? Was Gelb the one who had the
I
initial
believe
quote?
so. That's the name of that
Yeah,
song. I believe so. Yes.
and Lopez, who this is where it gets. I don't want to say tricky, but English is not his first language, but he's speaking English pretty well for someone that's ESL. You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's where it's like he says I'm the worst fucking team in the whole league. That's the words that come out. Now, a lot of these baseball reporters have been around ESL guys exclusive, like that's the MLB. You know what I mean? It's a lot of guys
Right.
where English is their second language. When when he starts off the sentence, I'm on, or I'm the worst team. Obviously, he's not a team.
Correct.
But when he doesn't say teammate, it just sounds like he's like, this is the worst fucking team of all time. I don't give a fuck. And he's really trying to shit on himself in this moment. He's trying to be like, I really fucking stink. If they don't want me here tomorrow, I get it. What it comes out sounding like, this team fucking sucks. I hope they get rid of me. I don't give a fuck if I have a job tomorrow. And the Mets heard the latter. They heard the latter and they promptly DFA'd him. That's the
Now,
last I've caught up to on this story.
well, yes, and apparently he put out a IG. I don't know if it was IG, but he put out a post somewhere, and he was like, whoever heard me say teammate and what I said on the situation, I've been the worst teammate. Damn, I probably shouldn't have just read what he said, but you you get what I'm saying. He said teammate, like that's what he claims, right? And personally, hearing the clip, I heard teammate too. So I'm confused as to there are a lot of things that confuse me here. But number one, to before I get to the confusing things, this is why dudes have translators. This is why. Where no matter how well you claim to speak English, if it's your second language, you could avoid shit like this. Because listen, I'm not gonna hold the Mets' feet to the fire for releasing him. My man shot put his glove into the stand. Okay, like I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, how could you release a man like I, understood. He's not even pitching well enough to justify keeping him.
No.
On top of everything else here, right? So I'm not going to have their feet to the fire for releasing him. Now, you knew he was mad as hell. You knew that clearly. He fucking again he shot put his glove into the stands. You knew what that could have been, and granted, he had an hour to cool off. Yada yada. People like to point that out. I'm like, an hour ain't shit to some people when it comes to cooling
No.
off. An hour ain't shit to some people. Listen, him doing that interview by himself was a recipe for disaster, regardless of regardless of what he was talking about, let alone the fact that English is his second language. So now, okay, you get the interview started, you do this, you do that. All right. Now he says what he says, and there's a clear misunderstanding. And mind you, it's not like the misunderstanding, like people picked it up like the next day, like I can't believe you guys fucked up, bro. In the hour, people are like, yo, y'all fucked this
Right.
up, man. In the
Right.
hour, like, yo, y'all fucked up. He said teammate. Like clearly there was a disconnect there. He said teammate. Now, to the confusing part is, bro, there has yet to be a retraction or a hey, my bad. Nothing since. And bro, it's been like what 15 hours? Like there's been
Yeah.
nothing. We've gotten updates out the ass since it happened. From the minute he fucking launched the glove into the stands to now, and not one person, not SNY, not Gelbs, nobody is like, you know what, man, we feel terrible for what happened there. We had a clear disconnect. we apologize to Jorge's family, whoever you need to apologize to, my bad. None of that shit. And that is incredible to me when they set him up to fail in the fucking first place.
So when I just Googled his name to go to Baseball Reference and just see how bad he's been, he has a positive WAR on the season. That's 0.4 for a reliever. So that's not the worst player in baseball. You know what I mean? Like we've got like 9 of those on the Red Sox. Like no. He's not fucking prime Mariano. That's for certain. Yes. But I also saw from 2 hours ago, Anthony DeComo said, I want to be clear. Jorge Lopez was not DFA'd because of the teammate confusion. He was DFA'd because he embarrassed the organization with his actions and words, throwing his glove into the stands, lying about meeting with management, and offering zero remorse. That's it. That's the whole thing. Regardless of the actual words Lopez said, he swore multiple times on camera after having an hour plus to cool off postgame. His tone was clear and obvious, and the furthest thing from contrite. Mets officials found it unacceptable. It is the Mets. Like, I don't want that lost in all of this. Saying he embarrassed the organization. This is a team, like, within the last 5 years has been hit with batting out of order. You know what I'm saying? Like, those are the embarrassing things teams do. This is like a thing no one other than Mets fans is going to remember like a week from now. You know what I mean? So that's where it's like embarrass the organization feels harsh. Like that feels a bit strong.
Maybe they embarrass easily. I mean, they've had plenty of experience. Maybe they embarrass easily because I found not so much the organization saying that because they have to, I guess, but like all the pearl clutching from like fans about this, I found to be insane. Like yes, I'm not saying people should go launch gloves into stands and make it regular. I'm not saying any of that. But the way people are talking, you would think he launched a bat. Like, yeah, that would be wild. Okay, that would be different. A glove is not going to hurt nobody, bro. Like, you catch the glove, you move on. A glove is not going to – you catch a glove, you have a memory. Like, that's hey, remember when Jorge Lopez launched his glove? I caught it. Like, you have a fucking memory. It's cute. We laugh for a couple of hours, and then we move on to the next shit to laugh at. That's how this is supposed to go. You can't have this behavior, and I can't believe – he could have hurt somebody with what? With what? Hurt somebody with a glove? A glove? Really?
Well, I'm even looking at some of the comments. Like, swearing in post-game interviews has been normalized by players, coaches, and managers in all sports. And while that's egregious pearl clutching, it's not incorrect. Swearing was for sure more taboo. Even a decade ago. Like, you don't have to go that far back. I don't know who has normalized it.
For that. Now we don't care.
Yeah, they still might get fined. I don't know. I don't know if it gets announced the same as like
that's true.
Hard foul. There's a lot of like players get fined in the NFL for like their sock height every game. You know what I mean? Those don't get announced the same.
Yeah, it's true.
So they still might get fined. I just don't know. They're like, I'll pay $5,000 to swear. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because we're one like barrier level removed from everyone with social media. You know what I mean? Before then, the only time you could hear these guys speak was in these interviews. It was more clandestine. Whether it should have been is a different conversation. I'm just saying what it was.
Right.
I personally like it. I don't care. I have kids. I don't give a fuck what they hear. It's not like I'm swearing around them all the time, but if people swear, I'm not going to pretend like the sky is falling. That's just kind of a part of life. But this is, I didn't know that was the part anyone had a problem with, was the swearing.
Oh, yeah. Like you saw people like really upset that he dropped the F-bomb. And I'm just like, we hear this every day, every single day.
Especially in New York. Like, it's not even a shot. The Northeast in general, like if this were, I don't know, if Alabama got a baseball team, you know what I mean? Like I could understand like that deep South. Oh, we only swear behind people's backs because that's how we consider polite. Like, if that's what the case was, sure. The Northeast, like, these are not words that register.
In some context, cuss words are a form of affection for us.
Big time.
Like, I say fuck out of here out of love. You know what I mean? Like, what are we talking about? We're clutching our pearls because a mad person, right? He's clearly upset on an awful team. who just got ejected from a game. I'm assuming he didn't pitch well. I don't even know how he pitched. I have no fucking idea. I'm just going to assume he didn't pitch well in the game. Let off a couple of curse words, and we're acting as if he entered a Catholic high school and did it. But I don't. What are we doing? I don't understand. The outrage over that is crazy to me. Like, the Mets are well within their rights to release homeboy. I get it.
For sure.
Fine. I'm not here to hold their feet to the fire. The reaction is very strange. Because, I mean, you don't even have to do all of this to justify it. His performance is fine. Like, I'm not here calling him a bad reliever. He's not. But he's a replaceable, average reliever, more or less. Yeah, cut him if he's throwing his glove into the fucking stand. We don't need to lay on the cross to defend this shit. We really don't.
So on May 21st, which was 9 days ago as we're talking about it, he had a 2.25 ERA and a 3.21 FIP. So close enough to say that was really what was happening. Mm-hmm. He pitched 3 times since then. He pitched May 24th, May 28th, and May 29th. He gave up a home run in all 3 of those appearances. He pitched 2 1/3 innings. He gave up 5 earned runs over those 3 appearances. So it was just like one of the worst weeks you can have as a reliever. You know what I mean? Like, just like the Giants and the Dodgers twice just pushed his shit in. And last night he only pitched that third of an inning. Looks like he walked a guy, gave up a bomb, and 2 hits. So yeah, it raises his ERA to 3.76, FIP to 4.65. So yeah, he a week ago he looked like a damn good reliever. You know what I mean? Like a plus reliever. Right. He may have been pushing
what relief is, man. 2 bad outings could fuck your whole shit up statistically.
Yeah, this is as bad of a week for a reliever. And these were all outside of yesterday. Yesterday was not a winnable game at all. But the other 2 were like, he got the loss in the Dodgers one, so he straight up just blew that game. And the Giants one, they lost 8-7, and he gave up a home run in that. You know what I mean? So that, and it was the 9th. Yeah, it was the 9th, and they lost 8-7. So it's like, yeah, I get his personal frustrations. He's kind of been the reason they've lost, or attributed to the reason they lost in 2 of his last 3 outings. And then this game, I don't know if they lost 10-3 and he pitched in the 8th. So I don't know when the Dodgers scored their 10. I know they got fucking 2 off him. So it was an 8-3 when he came in, most likely. It's a tough scene. It's a very tough scene. And yeah, if they were going to DFA him, I don't know why even have him talk to the media.
Right. And I'm unclear on when the conversation between him and the team happened. I don't know. Apparently, it looks like it happened beforehand, and then he lied and said it didn't happen. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to assume that he knew this was on the table. I'm going to assume like that would be the fair thing to conclude here, right? So with all of that said, again, you're sending him out to the media. He's about to lose his job. He done gave up 2 runs. He's had an awful week. And if you believe some of the rumblings, like, I'm not going to pay too much mind to him because nobody wants to be specific. Apparently, some family stuff is going down with him. What that means,
right?
Yeah. But I feel bad because this is most likely going to be his career's worst moment, and we're going to look. I mean, we're not going to look that much back at it, but like, if you ever bring up Jorge Lopez 6 years from now, it's going to be the first thing that comes up. Like, that part stinks. So it is what it is. I don't blame them for cutting him, but it sucks how the entire. I don't like how the whole thing, mostly the interview, obviously, was handled. And how SNY went about it was whack. Like, it's all bad.
Yeah, it's that classic New York media for you. I can't even at the whole Northeast, the media is just so funny if you aren't living and dying with everything they say. Yes. If you're taking them at face value, yeah, you're gonna. I don't put yourself in the hospital. Like, I don't know what you're going to institutionalize yourself if you're constantly listening to like Philly, Boston, New York sports media and being like, these are the people, these are the ones in the know. JJ Redick called in to Felger and Maz yesterday, and they were trying to like bait him into saying if the Celtics were to lose the finals, it would be like the worst thing that's ever happened. And he was just like having these like very measured takes. And they were like, well, then why does Miami beat them all the time? He's like, that's not what's happened. he's like, that's not their record. Like, they played Miami this year, you understand? And he's just like audibly sighing and groaning. And I know it's an ad deal. That's because people were tweeting at me, like, why do you even agree to do this? It's an ad deal. Like, that's anytime you hear Collins like that, someone's paying to make it happen. JJ's not like, let me check in with Felger and the fellas to see what's going on. I think he audibly groaned several times, and then I think he was like checking his phone. Like, did I call the Boston? Right? Like, did I call him the Dallas by mistake? Like, why do these people hate the Celtics? Like, you could hear that in his voice after like 5 seconds of talking to these guys. That's the Northeast media, right? When an outsider steps in, they're like, wait, the fuck are you guys talking about? Are you guys idiots? Like what's going on here?
You guys don't actually like the teams you're covering, like, or respect them? Because I mean, they just swept the Eastern Conference Finals, so it's like, why are we having these conversations?
That's where like the old media, and I'm not trying to be like the Draymond Green new media guy, but the old media I feel like has always hid behind we have to be objective. We can't be biased. Objectivity is not just like being a contrarian, outright bashing everyone. I understand when a team walks through their conference, you have to find things to talk about. You can't just go on there and glaze them for 4 hours, however long your set is. But you also can like point to tangible things if you actually were watching and knew what you were watching, and not just be like, oh man, Jason Tatum didn't celebrate enough. He didn't celebrate hard enough for Jaylen Brown.
Brother, I cannot. Well, I can believe that became a thing, and I can't believe that became a thing all at the same time. I couldn't. I saw tweets about it. I'm like, and then I'm like, all right, I know I'm doing myself a great disservice, but I'm gonna go find the clip of what happened when he was handed the trophy. Homeboy has a smile on his face. What the fuck are we doing? What are we doing? What are we? He's supposed to do a handstand? What was he supposed to do? What was he supposed to fucking do? I'm not going to derail the show because we could talk about that for an hour. But yeah, the Northeast media is crazy. Yes, indeed.
I said, has Jason Tatum been arrested yet for not setting off fireworks and shooting dueling pistols like Yosemite Sam in celebration of Jaylen? And I think his warranty's still at large. I don't know if they've caught him yet. So yeah, the best ESPN freeze framed it on him. And they were like, look at him, and he's just fucking ear to ear smile. They're like, you can see the rage building behind his eyes. And it's just like, what are we talking about? I checked for Tatum's reaction the moment it happened because, like Jaylen said, he's not used to winning shit. Tatum, like the second it happened, Tatum reached over as far as he could, was beating the shit out of Jalen's head, and was smiling ear to ear. And I was like, okay, this is a non-story. Little did I know that it was still going to be a story, despite zero evidence. So that's been fun. We have in baseball, we'll get to the Yankees. But just in baseball, we have a new home run king, and that brings me so much joy. Now, the MLB still isn't acknowledging Josh Gibson as the home run king, but when I do my Googles, it says he has 962 home runs. That's roughly 200 more than Barry Lamar Bonds hit, yes, per my quick math. That would lead me to believe that that's more. Now, I've seen a lot of people say, well, those weren't in league games. Brother, the reason they're just now acknowledging Josh Gibson at all is because they didn't count any of the fucking games he played as league games. Now we're drawing lines in the sand as to what was a real game back then. What the fuck are we talking about?
I'm just glad that we got to the point where we could properly acknowledge and celebrate those players' existence among everybody else. I'm happy we got to that point. I do think a little bit of MLB's wording and how they're presenting this so far is a little bit clunky. Because, I mean, there is a reason there wasn't Negro Leagues in the first place. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I think, I think the wording is a little bit, it's a little bit clunky. I get that they just did it, right? I'm not here to dunk on them for this. But it's like, guys, it's a little bit clunky. We need to present it with the proper fucking context. And I'm sure, well, I'm not sure, but I hope that they get it right or more right in time.
Yeah, right now on his baseball reference page, these are the numbers I've seen people go off of. He will be credited with the highest batting average in MLB history. I believe also the highest on base and like slugging percentage. But I look at these games played. He played 602 games over 14 years per the ones they're counting. And it's like he was playing like 170 games a year. You know what I mean? Like way more. So that's where it's like, yeah, I guess if we're going to just like, again, not learn from history, draw another arbitrary line in the sand and be like, those don't count. They already don't like the guy who holds the home run record. And I mean, they is in baseball. I don't mean they is in white people. We'll get to them. But why wouldn't baseball be like, no, he socked 962 dingers. That's the record now. Sorry, Bonds. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean, like, I tend to be Captain Semantics, so I will go down this. I'll go down the semantics path again. Like, they're running with MLB's all-time leader. You guys didn't allow him to play. That's not how this is supposed to work. Yes, right. The Negro Leagues were a major league. Right. If you want to say that and put the proper context behind it, I'm all for it. But just running with the MLB's all-time leader, nah, bro, that can't be what this is. You guys didn't allow him to fucking play. Like, yes, right. It's not our doing, obviously, but the MLB didn't allow him to fucking play back then. And we know why. So let's apply the proper context. We don't have to do the MLB. Like, we're doing a little bit too much for my taste, even if I applaud the efforts.
Yeah, it's obviously a weird situation. I think the intentions are generally good.
Yep.
Good intentions don't always make for correct application of said intentions. I don't know. It's not like I've been to Cooperstown to see how they're properly immortalizing this stuff and how it's presented and this, that, and the third. But this guy never once had an OPS below 1,000. Like I'll say it. I'll be brave. I think racism was bad. It still is bad. I'll go a step further. Bad.
Look, I thought you were about to say but. And I was about
to say, no. Obviously we will never know, but like, what would his numbers have been? Because we've seen sports post integration. You know what I mean? Right. We live in that world. Feels like he would have been running the score up. You know what I'm saying? Like, feels like he would have been dominating. And like Satchel Paige is always a guy I come back to as well. Satchel Paige should be in everybody's all-time pitching rotation. He's one of the 5 best pitchers of a round sphere in the history of arms and balls. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Him and Josh Gibson used to go to these barnstorming games and play. Like, that's the thing. I don't like that we're lessening that level of competition in those barnstorming games, because who the fuck are we to say that there weren't 15 major leaguers out of the 18 people playing if it happened in modern times without like that kind of racism? You know what I mean? Like, why are we saying that they weren't? Satchel Paige was winning these games like 2-1, and him and Josh Gibson were the only ones scoring runs. That means the other team's pitcher was probably pretty fucking good if the other guys on his team weren't doing shit. And it also means the other batters were probably good if they were scoring at all off Satchel Paige.
Right. And I mean, we are lessening that level of competition, even though, like, again, they weren't allowed to play. Right. So like, we don't know what they could have done against the quote unquote better competition because they were not allowed to play. It's kind of why some people don't take the whole Babe Ruth thing that seriously. I'm not one of them. He can only control what he can control. All right. So I'm not one of them, but you hear it all the time. Babe Ruth wasn't even allowed to play against black people. What are we doing here? And I mean,
his own people, they wouldn't let him play.
Right. Like Babe Ruth wasn't even allowed to play against his fellow black people. What? So I mean, how seriously are we supposed to take it? But yeah, I mean, they're playing. We don't know the level of competition that they would have been able to. We don't know what they would have been able to achieve at the major league level. Again, because Major League Baseball didn't allow them to play. So I'd appreciate if they would smooth that out a little bit. I'm not going to dunk on them too much because, again, the intentions are fine. But smooth that out a little bit. Like, you presenting it too much like we don't know what happened. Like, we weren't there, but we have history books we read. Like, some of us do anyway. We read. So we know what happened. You don't need to do this.
There was, when Joe DiMaggio was coming up, he played against Satchel Paige. They used to have like exhibition games, and they would be like, well, this is the best pitcher in the world that isn't allowed to play in the major leagues for some reason. So we're going to have all these rookies see what they can do, and that's how we're going to scout. DiMaggio went 1 for 4, and his hit was like this weak little dribbler up the middle. And the Yankee like scout there at the time sprinted to the phone, which I could only like, it was probably the third phone ever invented, and called back to New York and was just like, nah, DiMaggio is going to be unbelievable. He got a hit off Page. At no point during any of that were they like, why don't we just fucking sign Page? Like, if that's the bar we're basing everything off of, nobody thought, like, not a single person was like, yeah, no, let's bring him in. No one. Not a soul.
Yeah, that sums it up. That sums it up so perfectly well. Like, Joe DiMaggio, one of the best baseball players to ever walk Earth, went 1 for 4 of this guy. Didn't obviously, like, I'm going to assume he looked rather uncomfortable during the at bats. His one hit was a bleeder for all intents and purposes, and they're like, you know what? That DiMaggio, he's going to be a problem. Like, nothing about the pitcher, but that DiMaggio, you see, he bled a ball up the middle against that guy. He's going to be great. It's like, so what about the pitcher?
He's playing the right way. That's the kind of Yankee baseball we like here.
All right. Let's not do that.
Red Sox were the last team to integrate, like by a lot, by an uncomfortable amount of time. So I can't say shit about that. Thankfully, the Celtics and the Bruins were first in their respective sports, so they got that going for them. But yeah, Red Sox were like, nope. Tom Yawkey was like, over my literal dead body, you can play for my baseball club. You wonder why they didn't win a World Series for 86 years.
Wow.
Hard to piece it together.
Hard to point to why, right?
Yeah, that's a mystery. But yeah, Babe Ruth. It makes the selling Babe Ruth, which, by the way, the Cleveland Guardians just sold a player to Korea the other day. Did you see this?
Pardon me? Sold a player? What?
That's how they tweeted it.
What?
Let me see if I can find it.
Who the fuck?
Yeah. The Guardians announced that Jaime Barria has been sold to the Eagles, which is the Korean Baseball League. They tweeted this out from like their official account, not the Guardians account. It's like their player transactions account. So it's yellow verified. So it's part of that. Like, you click on the yellow, it says part of the Cleveland Guardians organization. And you go, huh? And it's like, what's that phone call? You call up Korea. You're like, we'd like to sell you this Venezuelan boy. We'd like to sell you. Like, you got to change the wording on that. All the replies to the tweet were like, we could have swore this was like super illegal. Like, you couldn't do this to people.
Right. Right. I didn't know this was fucking legal, on top of how the wording looks anyway. But like, I had no idea this was legal. What's going on here?
Yeah, here it is. Official transaction. This is from @Guards Insider, which again is part of it's the official player development account of the Cleveland Guardians. Official transaction. Right-handed pitcher Jaime Barria has been sold to the Hanwha Eagles of the Korean Baseball Organization. That's the full tweet. Nothing else.
I mean, what? I mean, I guess technically they can't say traded because, well, he was not traded. But
you could say his contract was sold.
You could have said a lot of different things, man. Like his contract was purchased is right there. Like right there. You could have just said that. Like we sold him. Like wow. We're still doing that in 2024. We selling people still?
Top reply. Thought this was abolished in the 1800s, which also thought that. The Guardians disagree.
I didn't think selling humans was still legal, but apparently we're here.
The Guardians were like, all right, we'll change our name. Get off our backs. Now, the highest bidder. And they just wheel.
Hey, yo, they were just like, hey, right here, man, damn, we changed our name. Don't look at us for shit else. And then they're just like, yeah, we're going to sell people. How could you do that? We changed our name, didn't we? That's what you wanted, right?
I'm just picturing like being that player's agent and being like, hey, you've been traded. And it's like, oh, Dodgers organization, the Padres, who wants Jaime? And he's like, hope your passport's up to date. You're going to Korea, pal. It's like, excuse me? What did you say? What did you say to me?
Yo, I would like to know how the phone calls between the two teams went and how the phone call or the meeting, whatever, with him and his agent. I'd love to know how the news was broken to him. Assuming he didn't have a hand in it in the first place, which I'm going to go out and assume that he didn't. I'd like to know how the call between him and his agent went. Like, hey, I got news for you, man. You're moving on. Cleveland has traded you somewhere. He's like, yeah, you know what? I could get with it. I don't like this Cleveland shit anyway. Fuck that. Where am I moving to? Florida, New York, LA, Korea. I'd pay for just that portion of the phone call where he says you're going to Korea and then the immediate reaction.
Yeah, it's very funny. Just very funny. It's possible that the uptick in strikeout rate is what caught the attention of a team overseas. No one in this country or Canada, it caught none of their attention. But in Korea, they were like, we got to have Berea. I don't care how many.
We got to have them.
I don't care how many international accords we break doing so. We will acquire Berea. The Red Sox went into Baltimore and just got smacked around as we're one to do. It's just boring at this point. They're a boring team. The pitching's come back to earth.
Yeah.
I think Cutter Crawford's going to be shaky during the summer. I've been saying it for a while on this and other shows. He's just so prone to give up fly balls right now. And in the warmer months, those things go very far. I'm not out on him by any means, but it's just a concern.
Right.
The offense is dreadful, just dreadful. And we did Section 10 last night. We started bitching about the offseason. Steve rolled his eyes at me and is just like, look, man, I don't like talking about this. It's not something I enjoy doing. I much like bring me back to even 2021. Like 2018 was obviously an outlier in the sense that it is a historic season. A 2018 team historically stacks up against anybody. 2021, we went in with similar expectations to this year. Like, let's just fucking see. Let's see what happens. And in 2021, they were a good baseball team. And the conversation wasn't, oh, we could have done this, that, and the third in the offseason. It was very much, what are we going to do at the deadline? And they went out and got Schwarber. I don't have any faith, even if this team right now, I think they're 2.5 out of a playoff spot. If they're a game out of a playoff spot, I have really no faith that they're going to be like, we're going to go acquire this guy to really lock us into one of these 400 playoff spots. I very much still view them as sellers. And that's part of the problem. It's like, all right, if you're going to sell, you're not really going to address, like Trevor Story went down immediately. They were like, we're cool with not really replacing him. Tristan Casas went down shortly after that. They waited for Dom Smith to get waived, and Jed Hoyer had to basically force Garrett Cooper onto us. And that was rude because Garrett Cooper fucking stinks. So that it's like they haven't been crazy proactive at all. They were proactive in the sense that they went after Jordan Hicks, which looks like it was smart. Like I'm not going to only shit on them. They were trying to sign Jordan Hicks, who's been unbelievable for the Giants as a starter this year. They were very heavily tied to Seth Lugo, who might start the fucking All-Star game because of how good he's been for the Royals. So it's like I can see their vision. I think it's fair to say, had they actually gotten to work with Lucas Giolito, he probably does look like the guy who's that top 5 Cy Young finisher from a couple years ago, not the 47 home runs or whatever he gave up last year. They probably do get a better version of Lucas Giolito. But even if I want to give them that credit, Tanner Houck was our 5th starter coming into the year. He's been our ace all year. If Giolito had stayed healthy, Houck would have been in the bullpen. So it's like I don't know how much credit I'm supposed to be giving them in really any regard. And you have to talk when the offense is this bad, and it wasn't even that great when Casas was in there. What am I supposed to talk? I can't just keep talking about these kids who are going to be up here in a year and a half. Like that's not even like they could still be bad. I don't think they will be, but they could still be bad. The jump from the minors to the majors is enormous. So until then, yeah, show me what you're going to do. Because every year since 2018, you've gone out of your way to slash payroll. And when they fired Heim last year, they talked about how now they're going to start spending, and they didn't. So it's like, all right, well, are we just supposed to pretend that they're going to change on their own, or like, there's nothing that points to them doing that.
I mean, you are obviously way more in tune with that team than I am. The Red Sox are what, in 4th place in the division or 3rd?
Still right? 3rd, I'm pretty sure.
They're 3rd place in the division. Right. They are so far behind the Yankees that I can't see them. I can't hear them. I don't like. It's whatever to me with the Red Sox. But jokes aside, shit talking aside. I mean, they are in a transitional year, man. Now, it's hard to take anything with them going forward at face value because, again, they talk all that in the offseason and did nothing. So,
right.
Like, it's hard to take anything they say at face value, and I understand that. But it becomes easier, well, at least for normal people and normal fans, it becomes easier to deal with it when you realize what it is. They're telling you at every turn what it is. They don't give a fuck about 2024. Like, 2024 is, all right, let's see what we got with our pitching staff. Let's see who's going to be here, who's not going to be here, how we can develop them, blah, blah, blah. What plans work. This year is not about the wins and losses. And it hasn't been for a long time.
That's the problem.
Can the Red Sox still compete for a playoff spot? Yes, obviously. They're 2.5 out now, and they don't have an offense. So, yeah, they could compete for a playoff spot. But are they going to, like, for example, and I'll bring this guy up later because we're going to talk about Anthony Rizzo. Christian Walker would be perfect for Boston. Like, assume they do have a DH opening, right? Because they have a DH opening, correct?
Yeah, because the one they do have, like, there's not even Yoshida updates anymore. Like,
right.
I don't.
Oh yeah, right. He does exist, right? Yeah, but like Christian Walker would be like he would be a perfect player for the Red Sox to target. Perfect player. Are they going to? There's nothing that points to the fact that they would. Like, they'd have to give up a prospect or two. Probably not a high-level one for a rental, but you'd have to give up a prospect or two. Nothing about the Red Sox last 6-7 months says, you know what? They're going to be aggressive in the market to try and get a 500 team into the postseason. There's nothing that says that.
No, and I do think it's different when you set it up this way, but all we talked about in the offseason was they weren't that far away. You could still test out the pitching staff with Bailey. You could still be developing in the minors while not contending for a championship, but being a non-500 team. Like, that was on the table, and that would have been a playoff team. And then whatever happens, happens. We've seen baseball playoffs more than any of them. Just get in and see what happens. And I'm not like, if they had done that and lost in any round in the playoffs, would I be pissing and moaning? Not really. Because after 2021, I wasn't doing that. It's been these last 3 years, 2.5 with this year. It's just like, you're just punting years for no reason. Your biggest advantage, you the Yankees, the Dodgers have this advantage over everyone else. You're the only one not using it. And it's disgraceful. I think not talking about it is insane behavior.
I love it.
It's true. Like it's those three teams, and the Yankees. Houck tells you all the time he's poor as shit, and someone and Cashman's like, I don't give a fuck. We're trading for this guy.
True. Like they will trade for an expensive rental damn near every year, basically. Yes,
right. And I have to, even if it hasn't worked really ever, I have to respect it.
Of course, it's worked.
When
there's a certain guy named Juan Soto on the Yankees right now who's doing fine.
I'm not saying the players haven't worked. I'm saying in terms of like the goal, it really hasn't worked.
They won a World Series 15 years ago.
Yeah, that was recent. So what's wrong with Anthony Rizzo? He's Italian. He's too Italian.
Oh, don't get me started on that one. That could be a whole second.
The Italians?
But not the Italians, but how they're received by the fans. Let's call it that. Let's leave it there. But what's wrong with Anthony Rizzo? All right, so it's basically been a year to the day since he got concussed, right?
Yeah.
He got concussed May 8th, 2023. Since then, May 28th, 2023. Since then.
I was going to say May 8th is not close enough.
Yeah, my bad. May 28th, excuse me. All right, so he's played 103 games since, 427 plate appearances. His stats, he's in 214, 292, 305 with 8 home runs and a 74 WRC+. Now, right now the Yankees are getting a lot of contributions from shortstop, offensively. A lot of contributions from shortstop, a lot of contributions from Stanton. Even Trevino's been great the last month and a half. He's been great. I don't expect that to continue. He's been great. So they're not exactly dying for Anthony Rizzo contributions on offense, right? So they can afford to carry him until either they decide this roller coaster is done, it's over, or until he wakes up and was the player that he was before the concussion. Now, with that said, the frustrating part about Rizzo, besides the obvious, he can't hit water if he fell into a pool. Besides that, he can't field either. Like, that's the problem. He can't field either. At least if you're gonna be sorry with the bat in your hand, at least when they hit the ball to you or when somebody throw the ball in the dirt, catch it. I'm not asking for a whole lot. Neither of the Yankees at this point, clearly, because they keep running them out there every day. I'm not asking for a whole lot. Nobody is. We're asking you to just field your position competently. The bat, either one or two things happens. It comes around or it don't. And then if it don't, figure out what happens from there. But they clearly, and I mean, and also, not a return, I forgot this happened. The other day, he flat out just dropped the ball, hit to him, essentially. Like, hit him in the glove, dropped it, guy got on first. Clay gives up a 2-run double right after that. They lose. They called it an error on the field. The next day, they're like, no, that wasn't really an error. Which I don't understand. I've seen so many base hits get called errors and vice versa, and nobody ever changes shit, and we don't think about it again. If it was called a base hit in the moment and they changed it to an error, that I could understand, because that would make sense. I saw the play. We all saw the play. I don't understand how somebody was like, you know what, man? Yeah, to hit that shit hit him in his mitt. Yeah, if he picked it up after it hit him in his mitt, he still gets the guy first. But you know what we're going to do? We're going to call this a base hit. I don't understand how he landed there. I really don't, but that's beside the topic. Yeah, man, the Yankees have a clear Anthony Rizzo problem. And the reason there are reasons, cynical and otherwise, we don't care that much about it. I won't touch on the cynical ones because it's very obvious where I'm going with that. But obviously the Yankees are stifling opponents with their pitching staff, and they're getting contributions from up and down the line, basically everywhere outside of first base and third base at this point. So they don't need him to do a whole lot at this point. But, Stanton is one hamstring strain away. I'm not wishing on him, obviously, but that's what his career has been for the last 4 years. Volpe, he's 23. Like, he's had 2 real hot streaks so far this year, and he's had 1 extended cold streak. We don't know what the fuck he is. We don't know what to expect from him like that yet. He's been really good. Hopefully that continues. Glaber's come around. He's been really good for like the last month.
Right.
And you have third base, which is a black hole. Like LeMahieu just came back. If he's just average, that's a win. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. But if he's just average, that's a win. And then Rizzo was just like, you can't have this from your first baseman, man. Like, they need something. It doesn't have to be Matt Olson, obviously. That would be good.
Sure.
But it doesn't have to be Matt Olson levels of good. Just something that's not like he's Joey Gallo bad with the bat in his hand for the last year. And I'm not making this up. I did the fucking comparison on Twitter. Like, in the same time frame, Joey Gallo is a 155, 276, 347 with a 78 WRC plus and 323 plate appearances. Like, Rizzo's been worse than that dude. And we've been making Joey Gallo jokes for what? I mean, forever, really. But, like, they've gone into overdrive the last, like, 2 years. I mean, shit, he got somebody pregnant, and we're like, wow, who knew we could hit something? That's what we're doing with Joey Gallo. Rizzo's been worse than that.
He didn't even get credit for that. They were like, it had to have been that 70-year-old geriatric Raiders owner.
Absolutely insane sequence of events that was.
So Rizzo, he was obviously acquired in 21, played 49 games, 110 OPS plus. That 22 season, he was unbelievable. 130 OPS plus, 32 home runs. And that was a contract year. And last year, 2023, this year, 2024, he has been
miserable.
Just terrible. 93 OPS plus, and that's average. It's 92 this year, 93 last year. Looks like you're going to be paying him $6 million this offseason to just not come back. He's got $17 million team option, $6 million buyout. That will be $6 million, and he will hit free agency, I would imagine.
Unless Rizzo wants to turn back the clock, yes, he's up out of there. They have a clear Rizzo problem, and the fan base has largely let him skate, which irritates me to no end for a lot of reasons. Because hey, the guy that plays to his right, he can't do shit without them being on his ass. Like Gleyber can't do shit without. And listen, Gleyber's been overall below standard this year. Not arguing that. He's come around lately. He's been below standard, and the same boneheaded plays, the same smooth brain nonsense still exists in his game. Hey, I'm not here to claim Gleyber is fucking perfect. He's a better baseball player than Anthony Rizzo, number one. Number two, he's done more for the Yankees than Anthony Rizzo. That's what I mean. Yeah, he's been here long. Yada yada. That's the truth. Anthony Rizzo hasn't done shit for the Yankees. He was fine in 2022. Great, lovely. That led to nothing. He was fine at the beginning of last year. That led to nothing. I feel bad that it seems like a concussion has been the turning point. That's sure. Awful. I feel bad about that. But when have Yankee fans ever cared about fucking context? When have we ever cared about fucking? And by we, I mean they. I care about context. Them motherfuckers don't. Until now, all of a sudden, he's a sympathetic figure, even though he's been one of the worst first basemen in baseball. Like I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say that. I don't have the list in front of me, but he's been horrendous on both sides of the ball. Like if he was playing stellar defense, at least it's like, all right, we got that. He's not even doing it. They hit the ball to him, and you're nervous, bro. At least I am. I can't speak for nobody else. I am nervous when he hit the ball to him.
Yeah, Gleyber's still rocking an 81 OPS plus on the year, obviously dragged down by just a dog shit first month and a half. But like you said, he has been a lot better lately. What do you want to say about this Anthony Volpe character?
So he in his 21 game hitting streak, he's hitting 341, 378, 550 is a slash, and he has a 130 WRC plus. There was a tweet, and this is going to be about Volpe, but not really at the same time. It was a tweet comparing him to Bobby Witt, like comparing their jump from rookie year to sophomore year. And it's like them two dudes have nothing in common. They are fast. They play shortstop. The end. Like there's nothing similar about the game. This is not to diss Anthony Volpe. He's been quite good, and his defense gives him such a stable floor that he's going to make himself a lot of money regardless of how he hits. If he's going to hit like this, he's going to make himself a ton of fucking money. right? So
Sure.
it's not to shit on Anthony Volpe at all. As a matter of fact, in that thread, and granted, like the comparison was ridiculous to begin with, but in the replies is a whole bunch of Volpe's ex-Woba and his this, and I love those stats too. I'm not shitting on the usage of the stats in general. I'm saying maybe a guy who's been in the league a year and a half, we don't know enough to know, like, okay, he's just never going to be able to hit the ball hard consistently. We don't know that. He's getting results as it is now. Are they a bit lucky? Yeah, for sure. Like his quality of contact is relatively average. Not everybody has to be Shohei Ohtani to succeed. Like, not everybody got to have, the blood red on the Savant page. Not everybody has to have that to succeed. So maybe he's one of them who doesn't need that. Hell, maybe he's one of them, he's going to regress. That's possible too. He's 23 years old. We don't know. We also just don't need to compare everything. Like, Bobby Witt is a premier power hitter in baseball. Like, he hits the ball tremendously fucking hard. You go to the Savant page, it's red all over the fucking place. Outside of like whiff rate and K rate, it's red all over the fucking place. He murders baseballs. Him and Anthony Volpe are not alike. Their rise to stardom, if you want to call it that, for Volpe, sure. Rise to prominence is a better word. Their rises to prominence are not similar. They do different shit. They get there in a different manner. Anthony Volpe doesn't even run as much anymore because he bats in front of Juan Soto. So we can't even say, oh, they both steal a ton of bases. He doesn't do that anymore either. So they're not similar. We don't need to compare everything. But to Volpe, if they have not already called his agent, I know we talked about this last episode, and I'll say it again. I'll say it again until it's irrelevant. Get that man's agent on the phone and try and get an extension worked out. I know the money is tricky because Hal's crying broke and crying how unsustainable high payrolls are. I get that. And I understand the AAV game. I understand that too. But it's going to cost you more 4 years from now than it will now. So try and get that shit done. If it hasn't already been attempted, try and get that shit done. That kid's a good player, and his glove is going to keep him employed and keep him gainfully employed for a long time, even if his bat, we don't technically know what his bat is yet, even if he's shown improvement in that facet.
I've got them. They're pulled up for this year. Witt versus Volpe. Anthony Volpe has more plate appearances, and that's it. And that's
they're not similar. Like, and like, this ain't even he's not as good. We know that, obviously.
Right.
It's just they're not similar players. Like, there's nothing to draw from it except they were both rookies who then improved their sophomore season. That's it. There's nothing else to hold on to there.
The on base is basically the same. It's 357 to 363, obviously in favor of Witt. The slugging is where things start getting separated, and that's not a knock. Volpe definitely has a better glove, but
yes,
I'm forced to agree with Chris Towers last night. That throw is horrible.
It was hard, and like, I get why he tweeted that at me. Shout out to Chris Towers.
Yeah.
But, like, I get why he tweeted that to me, but that really wasn't the point.
I know.
Yeah, the point was homeboy was tweeting about, I don't give a fuck about his metrics or no eye tests. He stinks in the field. That's all. Like, Volpe's arm tremendously concerns me. Like, every time he throws one, I'm like, all right. Thank God he got to first. You know what I mean? Like, that's just what it is. Also, speaking of Volpe, I forgot to bring this up. Yo, can we please get this man a helmet that fits? I'm begging. I don't know who do I have to talk to. Like, I would not care about this if he didn't play the way he does. Like, he takes extra bases, he does all this other shit. Bro, one of these days, if he continues with the fucking helmet that's too goddamn big, one of these days, he gonna slide into third, he gonna slide in somebody's knee, and we're gonna be crying about a concussion. Get him a helmet that fits, bro. We've been doing this since last year. Like, and last year was even more pronounced because he didn't get on base that often. And yet you still saw the helmet flying everywhere. It's like, enough. It's been almost 2 years of this shit. There's nobody in this man's ear talking about, hey, man, can we get you a tighter helmet? Please. I'm begging.
It's a lot of player preference. Obviously, he likes running without it on because that Little League home run he hit last night, sliding into third, and like he would have preferred to stay on third. I think he didn't want to get up and go touch home. He wanted to. He was like, I need a minute, and they were like, you got to go score. He's like, I do not have the energy or wherewithal to do that. Like he was hurting, limping to home plate after.
It felt like they told him, hey, they threw it into the dugout. You could go score. He's like, okay, that's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. But please get this man a helmet that fits, please. I'm begging. If I like, can I get Anthony on the line? Somebody got a way to contact him. I'm begging because I don't want to hear the crying about the fucking concussion when it happens. He runs into third and he runs into somebody's fucking thigh head first and then concusses himself. I don't want to hear it.
I mean, when the Patriots had all their rookies in for like that mini camp after the draft, they showed a video of them getting fitted for helmets, and they were like, is that too tight? Like, how do you like it? And it's like, it blows my mind they're not all like, I want it basically to have to get pried off my head every game. I don't want it for a second to even think about coming off. Like, I would like a size down, so it's always on. It blows my mind. Baseball, I understand that the risk isn't nearly the same as football, but yeah, I would prefer my helmet fit, definitely. That would be high up on the list for me. Low on my list is Luis Gil, because I just can't fucking stand it. I can't stand it at all. The Yankees made a trade that was a pitcher heavy trade this offseason, and the Padres were like, we're all set. We don't want, obviously, the best arm you could offer us. We don't want him. We're all set. Like, what? Michael King, if he were on this Yankees team, you guys are what, like 16-42 right now? If you had Michael King instead of Gil, like, you guys would be not nearly as good.
Michael King gets a lot of airtime on this show because you just keep disrespecting.
He fucking stinks, dude. Like, he's bad at baseball, and he was the centerpiece to a Juan Soto trade.
He gets a lot of flack on this program from you for basically trying to find himself as a starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. Like, he gets a lot of flack. But
he's the same fucking war as Jorge Lopez today.
Well, at least he's keeping himself composed about it.
We don't know that. We don't know what he's doing.
Okay, fine. He ain't publicly doing wild shit then. Is that fair? He's not publicly throwing his glove into the stands and shit.
Yeah.
So, sure. But, yeah, Luis Gil. So, first of all, there's no guarantee. I mean, shit, he barely made the rotation in the first place. There's no guarantee he's doing shit in San Diego either. We don't know that. Like, yeah, we know what he has now, what he's doing now. But, like, New York has something clearly that San Diego does not have. Matthew Blake. San Diego don't have that. Like, so we don't know what he would be doing in San Diego. And besides,
San Diego better than Michael King, for sure. He'd be better than Michael King.
We don't know that.
We do.
What if Luis Gil goes out there and is homesick? Like, what would happen then? What if he was just not in a good mental state?
From Azua, Dominican Republic. He's not from New York.
There's a lot of Dominicans here. It feels like home.
Yeah, the famously non-Spanish San Diego. I'm sure he would have really struggled.
You mean like Juan Soto did?
Yeah, he really struggled.
I mean, he didn't struggle, but he clearly wasn't happy. He was happy.
I don't know. You guys keep saying that when it's the most insane line of thinking. I've seen more.
That's not coming from me. That's coming from Padres fans who let them tell it. It's coming from them. Like, that might be cope, but that's coming from them. So
they're very weird people.
Very strange. Very, like, they were booing Watson. I'm like, for what exactly? He got traded. Yeah. He didn't demand a trade. He got traded. I don't know what you're booing him for.
Yeah. They're not very serious people. But, I mean, this is a 25-year-old. Turns 26 soon. And Michael King is how old? He's fucking 37? 29, dude.
29, excuse me. That was one of my favorite tweets of yours. The Padres one. Yeah, you know, that Luis Gil, and they were just like, no, we want Michael King instead. Yeah, that was one of my favorite tweets. I loved it so much. I appreciate it.
Could it, like, at that point too, you're trading for, like, what's the high end here? They trade for these fucking other prospects who are obviously going to suck Like maybe heels on the White Sox right now, it wouldn't have mattered, but you would still be watching Michael King, and that would be the most important part.
And Michael King would probably have like a 2.5 ERA if he was still here.
No, he wouldn't.
Why wouldn't he? We don't know that. He did fine pitching for the Yankees last September and last August. That's what got him traded in the first place.
His career ERA for the Yankees is 3.4. So no, he would not be a 2-something.
We don't know that. And
we do know that. That's literally all we know about him.
We don't know what he would have been doing this year. Clark Schmidt's career ERA before this year is probably like 4.3 for all we know. And yet here we are. And he has what? A 2.52 this year. So we don't know.
Another guy younger than fucking Michael King. Like all this is doing is giving me more people that should have been traded instead of Michael King.
Hey man, they took the guy with the more established track record of productive starting pitching.
He actually didn't have more productive track record
than
did.
Clark Schmidt. Luis Gil have
Clark Schmidt
track record.
I'm talking about Schmidt.
Clark Schmidt was not very good for what, 3 years?
He's only started though. That's the thing that kills me. Like Michael King only really started last year, so he did not have a longer.
He had a longer track record of success than Clark Schmidt did.
No.
He did.
For sure not.
He did. He absolutely did. Clark Schmidt ran like a 4 ERA for 2 years. So, like, I'm not saying he was awful, but he definitely wasn't good either.
Yeah, like Michael King's never been good. That's my point.
Michael King had a really good 8-start sample.
Yeah.
Small sample. Yes. Not here to argue with you. Small sample. Clark Schmidt looked like a jag for 2 years or whatever it's been. He did. That's what it was. And they went with the guy who had the 8 starts of exciting upside. That's what they went with. And I personally, I thank them for that. I
29-year-old with upside.
I mean, he's relatively young, but by playing time standard, because I mean he's 29, but like, he hasn't been around in Major League Baseball.
That's worse.
How is it worse?
If you can't break into the league sooner because you're not that good, that's worse.
I mean, we don't know why. It could have been politics.
Sure, yeah. Michael King, very outspoken. We all know what his voice sounds like. All of us know exactly what he sounds like.
It could have been politics. I don't even know what Michael King sounds like. And he played for my favorite team. But some fun facts about Luis Gil. He's the only pitcher in baseball with an ERA below 2 and at least 10 Ks per 9. He has 11.23 K per 9. He's only allowed 3 earned runs in his last 32 innings. Per KD Sharp, he had 44 Ks and 0.7 for the 0.7 ERA for the month of May. He's the only pitcher in Yankee history with 40 K and a sub 0.75 ERA in any month. And he's currently running a 1.99 ERA for the season. What a player!
That's all we got.
Glad he's on my side. I could go on all day, but we don't have that.
Well, I was just curious.
No, that's what I wrote down. But yeah, I mean, he's been tremendous, and the Yankees have quite the conundrum on their hands if he's going to continue pitching like this, because it's clear based on how much he's actually pitched that they can't just keep throwing him out there. So like he's going to have to be removed from a rotation at some point, whether it's temporary, whether it's permanent. But homeboy pitched like 30 innings last year, bro. Like, and his career high in innings is like 60. So like they can't just. Well, let me not say can't. Maybe they can.
I was gonna say he pitched none at the major league level last year.
Right. So like maybe they can, and maybe they just don't care, and they'll just say, "All right, man, we'll deal with whatever the repercussions are, and we'll just run them out there every 5 days." It's a tough call. I would not want to be in their seat because it's an absolutely tough call what to do with it.
I don't think it is actually a tough call. Like I think it's very new school to be like, you got to be careful with this guy. I don't know what the injury was. I assume it was Tommy John that kept him out 1.5 years. That's just my assumption because he's a pitcher who goes very fast.
Yes.
I wouldn't do anything. Like your team with World Series aspirations, he's been your best pitcher. I understand you're getting the reigning Cy Young winner back at some point, probably within the next month and a half. I wouldn't be people shit on the Nationals so hard for what they did to Strasburg that first playoff run, and they shut him down and they mishandled it completely. They ended up winning a couple years later, but it was like these kid gloves. I do think a lot of these guys would be less injury prone if they were just allowed to pitch. Like I think at some point you end up hurting them more than helping them, reining them in. And again, I say that with the caveat, I have no idea what he missed all of last year with.
Yeah, it was TJ.
Yeah, that's to me. It's like, okay, pitch, like just keep pitching. Like there's no like, because then you start, if you move him to the bull, I think moving him to the bullpen would be worse than shutting him down. I think that would be
1,000% agree with that. I just don't think, like, unless you're just committed to never starting him again this year, which fine, good luck to you with that decision. But like,
yeah, that's dumb too.
Right, I agree. I don't disagree. Like, maybe a Phantom IL stint is, I don't fucking know. I will say this though, to circle back to the whole babying stuff and how people handle stuff. The thing we know is no matter what happens, motherfuckers get hurt. No matter what they do, motherfuckers get hurt. It just, you baby them, they get hurt. You don't, they get hurt. It's just, I don't know what the exact science is. There's no exact science, obviously. I don't know what to do with him, but based on what we know, the chance of him staying in the rotation all year are very low. So maybe the Yankees are like, fuck it, let's go with it. Because I mean, they keep, like Michael K keeps citing the technology that they have, and they look at how his body's moving while he pitches this, that, and third. So maybe they think that he can handle the season-long grind. I hope he stays in the rotation. He's been fucking excellent. So I don't know.
I was gonna say, what grind? Like he's pitched 11 games. He's got a 1.99. That's not very like a grind to me. It's just he's going out there. He's doing what he does.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett Cole got hurt, and Luis Gil decided, you know what? I'm gonna be Garrett Cole. Shout out to him. What a teammate he is.
Was Cole this good at this point last year?
No, Gil's been better.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I don't know.
Gil's been better, legit. Like, it's close, but Gil's been better. Like, the only thing Gil's been worse at is walks by a mile. But he also, like, Gil's also just stopped walking people too, which terrifying. If that holds, good luck.
Yeah, I'm looking now. He's got 31 walks. I pulled up him versus Houck. Not for any other reason other than, like, I just know how good Houck's been, so I wanted to see the comparison. Houck's got him everywhere except strikeouts and win-loss record because of the obvious.
Houck has a lower year, right?
Yeah.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah, he just doesn't have 10K per 9, which is why he didn't match your little stat there.
Yeah. Love me some cherry pick stats. Love them.
But I mean, the strikeouts on the season are 79 to 69. Like, it's not like a bloodbath one way or the other. The K percentage is 32 to 25, so it's definitely in Gil's favor, no doubt about it. But this is, again, like, Houck's got the higher WAR, and I'll just never understand it. I'll never understand.
I'm not going to pretend like I don't understand pitcher WAR at all. Like, I never have. One of these days I'll sit down. Like, I have friends who are actual real life pitching coaches who are deep into stats and shit. Maybe one day I'll sit down with one of them and be like, hey man, can you explain how this is a thing? And just bring up like mad examples, because there's so many examples where one pitcher is like better across the board. They're like, yeah, the other pitcher has a 0.5 more WAR. It's like, how does that work? Because we're not comparing them on defense, I'm assuming. So it's just about the pitching. Right. One guy is better in like 6 statistical categories. The other guy is better in like 1. And like, you know what? The one who's better in 1 has like a 0.6 higher WAR. I don't understand it myself either.
Yeah, I mean, Gil's given up 4 times as many home runs. That sounds worse because it's only 4-1. Is that the 0.3 difference? It might be. That plus the walks, maybe that's the huge divider. But I don't know, they both seem like they've been 2 of the best pitchers in baseball, not even just the American League this year.
And Luis Gil. A reminder: did you see how the Yankees got Luis Gil in the first place?
I'm sure it's the fucking Padres.
No, it's not. The Twins.
The Twins? Oh, brother.
Did you see what they traded him for?
Yeah, Jake Cave. Jesus
Woo!
Christ.
Thank you, Minnesota. Appreciate you.
If
Minnesota! Thank you.
If you're the Minnesota Twins and the New York Yankees call you, like, what are you doing? What possible, like, nothing has gone your way in this matchup ever. Like, not for a second. You're just trading them young. Like, I assume he wasn't throwing like 88 when they made this trade in 2018. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think he added 14 miles per hour to his arm over this time. Like, what are you doing? The fuck are you doing?
I mean, they traded a guy who at that time could not throw strikes for a corner infielder. Well, at least I think that's what Jake Cave is, right? He is a corner infielder, right? That sounds
fucking
like a
cares.
That does sound like a corner infielder ass name. So I don't know why they did it. I don't know why they picked up the phone in the first place once they saw a New York area code. I have no idea. I'd like to thank them personally for their service. I appreciate it. They have made the 2024 Yankees a whole lot more fun.
I mean, for 18 and 19, he was a 111 and a 113 OPS for the Minnesota Twins.
Exactly.
So he was fine.
They got a useful player for him.
But he played 91 and 72 games over those 2 years. So they didn't even do it like that. That trade happens every day in baseball, and Luis Gil goes back to the DR within 3 years, and that's that, or he goes to Korea, wherever he goes. Yeah, that's how that trade normally goes. If the Twins had made that trade to the Phillies, like it has nothing to do with their player development, any of that. He's just never becomes what he is. When the Twins trade someone to the Yankees, like if they traded them Buxton, if Buxton tore his ACL today and they traded him to the Yankees tomorrow, he would be fine by Friday. You know what I mean? Like, he'd be fine. He'd be completely fine.
He'd become Cal Ripken after that?
He'd go on to have, he'd play the next 15 years completely healthy, and everyone would be like, well, of course, the Twins traded him to the Yankees. What the fuck did they think was going to happen? That's just how this goes. You can't be trading with the New York Yankees if you're the Minnesota Twins. Like, that feels so obvious to me, and these fucking morons are like, no, we can do it. No, you can't. No, you can't.
I appreciate it. I appreciate them for that. I like the Twins.
I bet.
I like the Twins. Their existence has been nothing but positive for me. I like the Twins.
I also love when a dog walks in and rolls over and says, rub my belly. And then I just get to go pat, pat, pat. Because that's what the Twins are for the Yankees. That's the exact same thing. So, yeah, I bet you do fucking love that.
Not a lie. Correct.
Fucking Twins. We'll see everybody next week.